And welcome back to another episode with the Commissioner, your host, your guide. Hopefully you're in the championship and hopefully Thursday night game went well for you. So this is part two. That Thursday matchup was somewhat a little bit disappointing for players like those who have Keenan Allen. And he stated before the game, hey, I'm playing, or stated, hey, don't bench me. And everybody that started Keenan Allen should have benched him. But that's fantasy, right? We could be disappointed. We could be frustrated. But this is what fantasy is. There's no guarantees no matter what kind of player. So if you have a Derrick Henry, you feel confident. But anything can happen this week. Probably not to Derrick Henry, though. But guys who, I guess, from 2020 learning, hamstring injuries are the ones to stay away from. Sometimes it works out with a Julio Jones, for example. He usually doesn't practice all week, has hamstring issues. He comes in and gets 90 yards and a touchdown or something, over 100 yards. So there's a few players that are not going to let you down, even if they didn't practice all week. But it's rare. So a good lesson to learn from all this for me is next time going into a situation like this, knowing he's going to be in a snap count, that should have been a big red flag. So things like, again, I'm learning, right? I had Keenan Allen in one league, and I started him because I'm like, how can I bench Keenan Allen in this type of matchup? Now, that's what happens with some of these matchups and some of these things we go through fantasy. So learning from all of these things to hopefully be better in the future. That's all we can do, right? We can learn. And so it's disappointing, but hey, hopefully your matchups are looking good. And let's get into the part two starts for this week. So these are going to be mostly Sunday games and the Monday games. So if you need to review the Saturday games, they're in the prior part one. And those are only two games: Carolina at the Packers, and I think there's another team playing. So it was Bills at the Broncos. So two matchups that I have a lot of fantasy, impact for week 15. So if you need to listen to those starts, if you have any questions, you can always hit me up. All right, let's get into it. So game 9, this is already Sunday. Bears at the Vikings. Bears run defense is the only thing that scares me. Hakeem Hicks is there. You're kind of like, last time Dalvin Cook had a decent game. So hopefully, again, this is maybe indoor. But you got to start Dalvin Cook. You cannot just say, hey, I don't know if I have him in the league. In a big playoff matchup, I had Darren Waller go off yesterday. So Dalvin Cook is not in the greatest matchup. But look, you start your studs. So don't, unless there's an injury risk like with Keenan Allen. So I'm going to keep going back to that, right? I'm just in my mindset right now. For the future, I'm going to be very kind of like, okay, let me take a step back here, especially in the playoff matchup. I'm not going to start somebody who's dealing with a hamstring injury if it's not Julio Jones. For the Bears, like, you're going to start Trubisky. You could start him in this matchup. I think should be a competitive matchup. They're going to have to throw the ball. David Montgomery is a good start. And Allen Robinson, of course, is a good start. You could be, try to go get a tight end, but I'm not trusting anybody from the Bears on this one. Looks like they're going to run David Montgomery. Trubisky's going to throw. I think Trubisky's kind of finally, this is it for him, right? If he doesn't do well in these next couple of weeks. So this is not just, hey, let the Bears win, but they won last week. And so this is kind of like Mitch Trubisky saying, hey, I'm still relevant. I was a first-round pick. I'm still relevant. And so he's not bad, and it's not a bad matchup. It's not like the Vikings have these great corners or anything like that. So I would actually trust Trubisky in this matchup. For the Vikings, look, Dalvin Cook, you start Thielen and Jefferson, everybody else, even Cousins. You could try to throw Cousins out there, but he's like a Derek Carr to me, right? He can really let you down. I know Derek Carr got injured in that game yesterday, but I couldn't trust Derek Carr. I just couldn't. So that's me. If Rudolph is out, Irv Smith, the tight end, would be a decent start. So if you need a tight end, you're looking around, look for Rudolph to be off. If he's out, this guy's a good start because they're going to throw the ball. Again, the Bears, it's hard to run against the Bears. They're going to try, of course, with Dalvin Cook, but I think Dalvin Cook will be successful in catching those passes. All right, so that's that game. The Bears defense, if you're desperate, they're kind of like the last desperation defense to start, right? Because Cousins commit turnovers. But Vikings have been pretty well about handling the ball, not committing turnovers. Sacks, you might get some sacks if Hakeem is super healthy. So if the defensive line is there for the Bears, you could probably get some sacks and score points with that. So that's usually what the Bears, what they do is they get you some sacks, which those are points for fantasy. Game 10, Seahawks at the Washington football team. Man, I have Russell Wilson, and it's scary to start him here. But look, same thing, you're going to have to start him. So for me, I'm never going to bench a Russell Wilson, even in a tough matchup like this. It is a tough matchup. He's going to get pressured. They're going to go after the quarterback. Washington has a good defense. But look, start Wilson, start Lockett. Tough matchups for Lockett. Tough matchups for Metcalf. Carson also, I think, is going to have a tough sledding in this game. But they're going to get you at least something. They're not going to get you 2 points like Keenan Allen. I'll be bringing up Keenan Allen the rest of my talk because it's in my mind, It sucks what happened yesterday. So all those who started Keenan Allen, it's frustrating. It is. Because it could lose you the playoff matchup and you can't go to the championship. So it's for the football team, look, Gibson, there was some signs of him coming out. I don't think he's going to play, but monitor that. If he's not, McKissick should be the guy there. The only problem with McKissick right now is like Dwayne Haskins going to be the starting quarterback. He's not on Alex Smith. He doesn't dump off to his running backs. But I'm still starting McKissick in one league because he did get 13 to 14 carries. So there's safe stability. He might not go off. But look, if you don't have better options, he's a decent start. Terry McLaurin, you have to start. And then Logan Thomas is not a bad start as well, the tight end. So that's pretty much for that game. You could throw in the football team's defense, but again, we never know with Seattle, right? They are traveling, so it's a good setup. So another desperate play for a defense is the Washington football team. Game 11, Jags at Ravens. There's going to be some of these lopsided games coming up. So this is one of them. For the Jags, you have to start at Robinson. He's been there all season. He's been amazing. He's been the fairy tale or the darling tale or whatever they call the Cinderella of the 2020 fantasy football. Came out of nowhere, rookie, and blew up, right? And if you have him on your fantasy team, he's got you. You're probably in a championship because of Mr. Robinson. So you start him. It is not a easy matchup, but Ravens do give up at least in a few weeks last week. So you have given up some points into the other teams for the running backs. So for the Ravens, look, this is a good matchup. And Lamar is a good start. I have him in the league. It's a little scary to start him, but look, you have to start him against the worst pass defense. Andrews is back. I think Andrews will have a big game, especially if Hollywood is out. Hollywood right now is on COVID, but it looks like from what I read, he can come back. So he could be lifted off COVID. I think he was in some close contact or something like that. He could play. And if Hollywood Brown plays, you start Hollywood Brown because I think there's something that the Ravens want to work on is connecting with Hollywood Brown. And this is the game to do it. Right? This is the game to step up and say, hey, we got this. This is a bad defense. Let's get the best of it. So I think it's going to be a blow-up game. J.K. Dobbins is a start, and Edwards is a start. Gus Edwards. Ravens defense is a good start as well. So there's a lot of starts on the Ravens in a really, really good matchup. And hopefully all these guys hit, right? Hopefully, J.K. Dobbins catches a pass from Lamar, scores a touchdown. Maybe Lamar throws 5 touchdowns. He hasn't done that since last year. This should be a good game to do, right? Just blow up. And it'd be great for fantasy. So all those fantasy owners. All right. Game 12, Jets at the Rams. Another completely two teams that are a great defense, a great, decent, more than mediocre offense. And then this team that I don't know I think some college teams might beat them. So these are the Jets. I would start no one from the Jets, especially against the Rams defense. So don't get cute. Don't start anybody. Somebody might go off, sure, but don't play that. It's a game of roulette at that point. You can shoot yourself in the leg and be done. So for the Rams, you can stream Goff. He's still in the category for me of that Derek Carr, Cousins. I think they're going to run the ball as much as they can. Jets are not that bad against the run. So they will be throwing the ball. Monitor Woods. Robert Woods came up with some injuries, so monitor that, but he should play. Kupp is a great start on the Rams defense, and Cam Akers. He's the guy there. I'm starting him in 2 leagues. You trust Cam Akers at this point. That's also because I have injuries. But Cam Akers, I'm starting over CEH. I'm starting over a lot of these players, but Cam Akers looks he's proven himself to be the guy there. Hopefully he catches some passes for the PPR leagues. All right, game 13, Eagles at the Cardinals. Eagles look, Hurst proved himself against a great defense. He won them a game. The Eagles are still, I think, in it. So the coach has to roll with his new quarterback, new shining toy. He's a good start because, look, he runs the ball. He could get another over 100 yards. That's a safe base. That's a Lamar Jackson kind of base. Maybe he's not Lamar yet, but this guy could be big. And so I feel bad for Carson Wentz. I'm a Carson Wentz fan. But look, sometimes you just have to move on. And if there's something brand new and look, this quarterback's performing. And I think Miles Sanders you can trust in this game just because of what he did with Hurst last game. They're going to try to run the ball. They're going to try to get Miles Sanders involved. Goddard is another decent start. Wide receivers, I just don't know. Jalen Reagor, I want to see this game. So if you have Jalen Reagor or Jalen Reagor's on the waivers, go pick him up, put him on your bench, wait for week 16. Because I think if he's the guy there, first connects with this rookie Jalen Reagor, then look, this is for 2021. So this is really important to watch this team play right now because if this is their future quarterback, and maybe it is, and I hope it is. Look, I'm a Carson Wentz fan, but for fantasy and for football, I'm not an Eagles fan. But look, you want these type of quarterbacks that are fresh, new, and just Wentz has looked bad. He's got to figure some things out. So we don't know. Maybe this will help him. For the Cardinals, look, you're going to start Murray. You're going to start Drake and Hopkins. Everybody else, I am not trusting in this game. So those are easy starts. You guys know to start there. Game 14, Chiefs at the Saints. Look, it's a tough matchup for Mahomes, but you're going to start Mahomes, Kelsey, and Hill. Everybody else, I am not starting. So these are the only three. I've went away from CH. I don't want to start him in this game. I don't care what Miles Sanders did last week, and you could do whatever you want. And you can, maybe he does have a great game, but look, they're going to pass the ball. So this should be a great game to watch. For the Saints, looks like Breeze might be back. So I don't know. I wouldn't start Breeze or Hill. I'm not going to trust any of the pass throwers, but I'm trusting Kamara and Michael Thomas. Those are the guys I'm going to start. Everybody else, if you're desperate for a tight end, Cook is another one that you could possibly start. Try to get that touchdown. For the Giants, the only person I'm going to, sorry, for the Giants. That's it, sorry. Chiefs and Saints game. So Mahomes, Kelsey, Hill. And then for the Saints, it's Kamara and Michael Thomas. And Cook if you want to be cute. But if you're disappointed, that's because these are the, he could have a really bad dud game, dump. Could take a dump on your team. All right, two more games. So Browns at the Giants. This is another one where Giants have a great defense, but Daniel Jones might not play. So the only person I can really start from the Giants if Daniel Jones doesn't play is Gallman Jr. And the Browns have a good run defense, so that's another thing where it's like you got to lower your expectations. And if you have better options, hopefully you do. If you don't, it's like you're going to have to roll them out there. And I think Freeman is also monitor Freeman. He might be back, so that kind of just makes it worse for a running back for the Giants. And that's it. Basically, for the Browns defense, I think is a good start too. Giants defense, you might roll out. Look at the weather. If it's bad weather, I think Baker's going to come down to earth because he did well against the Ravens. But we don't know. Maybe this is a turnaround for Baker. Who knows? And I cheer for him. I traded him away in a dynasty league, but I'm cheering for him because you want great play from quarterbacks, right? You want quarterbacks to play well. You want to be competitive. You want to have the more players that produce, especially for fantasy. It's great. And the last game Monday night is the Steelers at the Bengals. For the Bengals, no starts. I'm not trusting anybody in this game. Do not get cute. Don't go and try to start a T. Higgins or an A.J. Green or a Boyd. I'm sitting all those guys. I am not in this game. I think the Steelers have to prove to themselves. This is a matchup for them where it's an easy matchup. It should be a win. And this team has lost 2 in a row. They're going to come back with firing power, right? Kind of like we're going to make our stamp even in this game. So I think Ben is going to have a big game. I think you could start Juju. You could start Deontay Johnson. He hopefully doesn't drop passes. Eric Ebron, Claypool you could throw out there. Connor, if he plays, I'm playing him. Like, I'm going to stick with Connor. I hope he doesn't play because it's a kind of Keenan Allen situation. Because if he's out, then you can start Benny Snell and be confident in Snell because they're going to try to run the ball. And then Steelers defense is a great start. That's basically it. Any questions, again, hit me up. And Week 15 is among us. But look, one thing I said before during this podcast is pay attention to these trends, right? Some teams are trending in certain ways. And so when you watch these last games, and if you're not in it, hit me up, play on we do cash plays. We put in like $5, $10, and we play on FanDuel, and we set your lineups. And so if you're not competitive, we're going to do that throughout the playoffs as well, because you can still play FanDuel, DraftKings during the playoffs. So try to kind of do that and keep up with these games, because it helps you to learn for next year. That's one of the things I learned, is watching what happens now is good for next year. Like, for example, T.Y. Hilton. If you didn't watch the last 4 weeks, you could say from the beginning of T.Y. Hilton from this year, this guy was irrelevant. He was dropped in leagues. But now he's one of the most targeted, one of the most used wide receivers in fantasy. He has a great matchup this week, as I talked about. So things like this always change in fantasy football. So when next year comes around and you're in the draft and you remember T.Y. Hilton wasn't that great, and you look back at his stats for 2008, he wasn't that great, but you remember, hey, the end of the year, the trend went up. So those are the things to remember for next year, because you could probably get a T.Y. Hilton in the 5th, 6th round. People are like, why are you taking him? He wasn't that great. He only had a few games. And you're like, hey, I know something. And so those are the little things, I think, for fantasy that make a difference from this year to next year. So hopefully this helps. Hey, good luck in your matchups. Hopefully you win and move on to the championships. All right, until next time, good luck.